Alright, what's up peeps? I'm back to do another session of Metal Gear Solid 5. It's the weekend once again, and I kind of had a few sneaky sessions midweek because I had a little bit of time, but I had to wait until the weekend. It's been for 4 days or so since I last played, and we were at a very critical stage in the game. In terms of mission, we've made it to what should be the big Skullface mission, where we actually fight Skullface, and I believe after this it should be Sahelanthropus. So obviously, because I've been exposed to some stuff from the game, I've tried my best to stay away from spoilers and stuff, and I haven't been spoiled on anything kind of major that I know of. From what I understand, this game has 50 missions, and I've checked the mission list to be sure. And what's interesting is after the 31st mission, I believe, or the 32nd, the gap between 32 and 50 is kind of, I think, littered with some main missions, but then some of the others are repeats. So you have to do them as part of the main kind of 50. But they're identical repeats of previous missions, only they're more difficult. Which, I don't quite understand the reason for that. I don't understand why they're there as main missions. Why can't I just go back and do the mission again if I really want to play the mission again? Since, you know, we're able to go back and do whatever mission we want, that doesn't really make sense. But that's what we've got. So, once I complete episode 30 and 31 and we actually see that kind of main ending, the initial ending, because I believe there's a second ending, then we're going to go about trying to complete the rest of the missions. And from what I've heard, you don't have to do the repeat missions as long as you do the ones in between. And there's also apparently some yellow side ops that mean kind of they're to do with the story. So like this one, for example. So we will do those as well. So like I said, as you know from the start of the game, how I do my walkthroughs is always story first. So once we finish mission 31, I'm just going to do what's necessary to unlock the second and kind of true ending from what I hear. So we'll see how that goes. First of all, we've got some cassettes to listen to because there was a lot of story that was dumped on us in the last hour. I mean, we've been playing for God knows how long. It's been probably 20 hours plus, and it feels like we've probably had about half an hour of cutscenes tops, and the rest has all been kind of cassettes and that kind of stuff. So the last kind of hour they dumped a lot of story, and it was kind of getting a bit confusing. So let's have a listen to some of these cassettes.
We placed the White Mamba and the rest of his unit in the staff living quarters.
How's that going?
It's a disaster, but what else can we do? We've taken away his weapons and banned him from using his nom de guerre. Apparently his real name is Eli. He must feel like we stripped him of his whole identity. We'll let things simmer down. I put a guard on him for now. Still, the question is, who is he? Where did he come from? And how has he survived?
He's still not talking.
No, he won't say a word about himself. But you know, it looks like he speaks English. One of the deck crew called out to him in English, and he said something back. He just lost it all of a sudden, started mouthing off at the guy, in perfect English. He wasn't stringing together words he picked up somewhere.
So English is his mother tongue.
He could be from the east, or the south, or maybe even further north or south. English is well established in countries all across the continent. It's rooted in Africa like a weed, or maybe parasite is the better word. So just speaking English doesn't help us figure out where he comes from.
Could even be from off-continent.
Right. In any case, we'll keep an eye on him. If we learn anything else, I'll be sure to let you know.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting because, like I said, all the indications point to the fact that Eli is indeed Liquid Snake. So how on earth did Liquid Snake end up being here by himself? How was he separated from his brother? You know, who's Liquid's commanding officer? Like, you know, who was looking after him? Who decided to put him there? Did he run away? I don't know if we're going to ever find out any of that stuff, or maybe we actually have some info on the stuff and I've just forgotten it. But yeah, hopefully we find out more about Eli. I'd like to know more. So we've got the whole thing about parasites and the fact that they kill anyone who doesn't speak English, right? Or even, I guess, even if you speak English with a particular accent, because they had the Kikongo strain. So even if you know English, provided that you speak it with that kind of dialect, it's still enough to take you out. So Skullface has kind of helped to cultivate and release these parasites that are going to take everyone out. Then we have the whole Sahelanthropus thing, the bipedal kind of robot tank thing that can fire nukes that we know all about from Metal Gear games. And then we've got metallic archaea that can disable the nukes or something. I think this turns everything to rust and all that kind of stuff. And thingy, Skullface has control of that as well. So it's a little bit confusing. Let's have a listen to this. It's going to take a while, but hopefully for those of us like me that aren't 100% like understanding the story completely, it should clear everything up.
About the pathogen spreading through Mother Base. You've seen everything we've got on the outbreak. What's your opinion?
Textbook symptoms of vocal cord parasite infestation. And judging from this casualty list...
Okay, so just in case you didn't catch it from the cutscenes, I think they've literally given you like an audio file of the cutscene. So I'll listen to it again still anyway. If you want to skip, you can skip. You're free to do that.
It is the Kikongo strain, meaning a breed of parasite that triggers symptoms upon detecting pronunciation specific to Kikongo.
So our Kikongo-speaking staff are at risk?
Quite so.
He's right. All the victims do speak Kikongo.
So they can survive if they just use another language?
There is no guarantee. You're only dealing with the Kikongo strain.
Yeah, because this is a question that I had with this whole thing. Yeah, okay, I understand that it kills anyone who doesn't speak English, but if you're multilingual, then it doesn't matter, does it? You just speak English and you're fine. So I don't get the big deal. That's why I thought even if you can speak English, it somehow detects that even if you have a very, very slight accent when you speak English, it's enough to trigger the parasite. But
other language strains may be present. You well know he was teaching them languages from all over the world.
The Devil's House. Nzoya Badia Bulu.
There is no way to know how many strains he has at his disposal.
So how do we keep them from becoming symptomatic? You mentioned using microbes.
Use this. A type of Wolbachia. Introduced to a sample of the parasite.
Wolbachia?
A parasitic bacteria that colonizes the parasites, turning male to female and preventing copulation. You must cultivate more. What have you done with the infected bodies?
Cremated to stop the spread of infection, but we did keep a few for study.
Good. Take this sample, grind it to a pulp, and introduce it to the larvae now nesting in the dead. The Wolbachia will multiply rapidly within those larvae.
They're soldiers, not some petri dish.
Conventional cultivation methods will take too long. Extract the Wolbachia from those larvae and vaccinate your men. Kikongo speakers first. This is the fastest, surest way. No one is to speak a word of Kikongo until the Wolbachia are safely inside them.
so again, he says that no one should speak Kikongo for obvious reasons, but he's not saying that they shouldn't speak English. So provided we just go there and say no one is allowed to speak Kikongo, if you speak Kikongo you will die, then it seems fine. So what's a bit... I mean, yes, of course it's horrible, but I mean in terms of staying alive, if you obviously provide that you know English, and it seems that almost everyone at Mother Base knows English, then what's the big deal?
I will instruct your medical staff in detail on site. You have the appropriate facilities.
Yes, but
do not worry. I made a pact with your bête de Cholone on the honor of the Dene. I speak no lies.
keep an eye on him.
Will do. Follow me. I'll take you to the medical team.
Now, we must wait for the Wolbachia to multiply in the larvae.
How is the disease transmitted? If it's carried by insects or rodents, then...
There is no intermediate host.
So...
The vocal cord parasites lay their eggs in the larynx of the host. Most hatch and migrate to the lungs, but some are transported to the mouth through ciliary movement, mixing in with saliva.
Saliva. Droplet transmission.
Sneezing, coughing. Any food or water containing infected saliva. It would spread fast.
Indeed. And when the larvae migrate to the lungs, symptoms can resemble the early stages of a cold. making it easy to infect others.
Meaning a simple conversation would be enough to pass it on.
Alright, so what happens after the larvae migrate to the lungs?
It is as I said before. They mature by feeding on alveolar tissue. It is only then that noticeable symptoms appear in the host.
And by that point, it's too late. He's infected everyone else. It's one hell of a weapon you've created.
That is what Blag Anna wanted. Something that would spread easily. In truth, he's not the reason. But we will discuss that another time.
The Wolbachia have multiplied. We're preparing to extract them and begin vaccinating.
I'm also just thinking, they were talking about how it can spread. So okay, we get it, like saliva, droplet transmission, etc. But they still haven't formed a hypothesis about who first brought it to Mother Base. So is it really true that Quiet realized that guy was infected, so she tried to kill him to stop the infection, or did Quiet bring it herself? Was it just bad luck? I don't think we've had like a concrete answer to that yet.
But is this really the only way? Sure, it'll prevent infection, but the cost?
You would rather remove their vocal cords?
No. Tactical communication's a linchpin of what we do.
Or you could just communicate in English forever.
What if we were to ban the use of Kakongo?
Thank you. Thank you. This is a question that's been on my mind, but I'm sure there's a perfectly good reason for this, but why has it taken this long for someone to ask this question?
Insufficient. First, there's no guarantee that only the Kikongo strain is here.
Yes, but he's saying every single language except for English. So what if there's a Afrikaans strain, for example? Then just warn your men to never speak a language other than English. How difficult is that?
Second,
It's better than not having kids ever again.
there is the matter of how the parasites lay their eggs. Before they can copulate, they must be exposed to the pronunciation of a specific language for a period of time, like a container filling with water. But the duration between when the container is full and when the copulation actually begins varies from case to case. In other words, even if the infected stop speaking as a countermeasure, it may already be too late. The only true solution is to prevent copulation through the Wolbachia, or by physically removing the affected tissue.
Do any anti-parasitics work?
It sounds as though you have already tried.
Yeah. We tried every one there is, and nothing.
I have yet to find a medicine that can remove the parasites. At best, it temporarily covers their ears.
Why is that?
Because the parasites are companions to us. To remove them inevitably harms the host.
Companions?
More than you think. And this is why the human immune system cannot eliminate them.
Ah, there we go. Now that's interesting. They're companions to us. So are they made using like human stem cells or something? That's interesting. But they still haven't formed a concrete answer of like, let's say there's an infestation and they announce at Mother Base to every single member of staff that you are banned from speaking any language other than English for the rest of your lives. That's a choice you have. Either you do that or you don't have kids ever again and we give you the vaccination or whatever. That seems to solve the problem, right?
Rain approaching.
I mean, I get that it's like a container and all that stuff, but if you warn people beforehand, then surely they're safe, right? I mean, I get that it won't solve the problem, but surely it's an effective countermeasure. That they make it sound like it's a terrible idea. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here.
We've inoculated the staff with Wolbachia to keep them from becoming symptomatic.
That should also contain the infection.
How did this happen in the first place?
It has to have been a Cypher spy within our ranks.
If this is so, Then why the Kakongo strain? If their intent was to wipe you out,
Skullface said the remaining English parasite was close to the boss. If this latest strain was his doing, he wouldn't have tipped his hand.
it is possible someone brought eggs onto the base without knowing. Stuck to their shoes, clothing.
Now that makes the most sense to me.
And where did the eggs come from?
You mentioned that your boss visited Nzoya Badiopulu.
Sure, but his gear's disinfected immediately upon return.
Then he was not the carrier.
And not just the boss. All staff dispatched to high-risk regions were quarantined on the flight back. When the symptoms first appeared, we checked and disinfected all equipment used up to that point. Any and all prisoners, soldiers, materials, and animals extracted during missions were also quarantined.
So, that just leaves...
I have seen children around here. Where are they from?
All over. Some were being held hostage at a mine. Then there were the troublemakers at Yamasa.
Yamasa.
Yeah.
Their clothes, their things. Did you burn them?
They're just kids. We couldn't. And besides, not one of them's shown symptoms.
The parasites don't infect prepubescent hosts. Their vocal cords are not fully developed.
Ah, how nice of Skullface to make a parasite that kills everyone who doesn't speak English, but doesn't affect kids. What a wonderful man.
Well, if infection doesn't occur in children...
It is possible they carried eggs on their clothes, and the infection spread from them.
Check the kid's stuff.
I doubt there is any trace left by now.
But if there is, some of those kids must be close to hitting puberty. How could we have missed this?
The name Yamasa got quite a reaction from you. I'm guessing the Kakongo strain was released in that village.
Cypher used that region to experiment with vocal cord parasite transmission. The Kakongo strain. The settlements around the refinery upstream of Yamasa were the proving grounds. They would infect one villager, then record transmission speed. Dangerous work. If they failed to contain the infection, it would slip into the surrounding regions.
At which point the world found out about the parasites, making them useless as a weapon. Incredible they'd risk such a thing.
The test site was densely populated too. A terrible place for such experiments. No doubt, they thought burning everything would wipe away all traces. The settlements were covered in oil anyway. Who would wonder if one day they caught fire? And so it did. They burned it all, living and dead.
I'm thinking to myself, these tapes are going to take so long that I might as well do a side op while I'm listening to them. So I'm going to go and do a side op. I think I saw one near the start of the game when I first looked through the list about soldiers that were with us 9 years ago, but that are no longer with us, that might have a story to tell or something. So I'm going to check that one out. So I'll let these continue playing once I get the side op rolling. So yeah, this one.
Please select a landing zone heading to Afghanistan.
Because I feel like it's going to take another 10-15 minutes, so I might as well just make use of it. And I might get some more... Whoops. I want to keep, obviously, Big Boss. I don't know why anyone would want to use anyone else, to be honest. Alright, let's go.
Deploying.
So do these still get their little kind of intro screens and stuff as well? The unskippable ones. I hope not.